Welcome to Logitech. I'm your host, Dr. Raymond Cheng. Just a few days ago, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau said that Western states need a unified front against a divisive China, where he said that China is now playing these Western states against each other, and that like-minded countries like these Western states should band together in order to cope with China. He also said that Canada should join with the United States and the other Western allies in announcing a boycott, a diplomatic boycott, against the Beijing Winter Olympics in 2022. And that Trudeau also said that Canada should also be considering a complete ban of China's Huawei and the country's 5G network construction. And this week we're going to look at Trudeau's statements against China. Well, we said we're going to look at why Trudeau is doing this to China, wanting that united front against China. But before we talk about that, one thing that we probably need to talk about is, well, how did this all get to this in the first place? Now, if you look at Trudeau's cabinet, well, Trudeau's cabinet actually sworn in 2015, and in the first 2 years of Trudeau's administration, well, they've maintained very good relations with China. Well, at least the relationship was not bad. But then if you look at what happened starting 2017, you realize that, well, things turned sour quite quickly. Well, let's do a little bit of a recount. 2017 August, that was the time when the journalist from the Globe and Mail was detained while working in Xinjiang. Now, that was the first time that happened with a Canadian journalist. And then 2017 December, that was the time when there was failed negotiation with the free trade area between Canada and China. And that was during the second time when Trudeau visited China. And then 2017 December, again, well, Canada blocked the sales of the construction company AECON. And all these things went down the drain in October 2018 when Canada signed that US-Mexico-Canada agreement with President Donald Trump. Now, the problem is not with the agreement. The problem is with the poison pill. The poison pill requires that the Canada or Mexico to sort of notify the United States if they're going to enter into trade deals with any other non-market economy. And of course, we're talking about China. So, well, there was this detention of the journalist. There was this failed negotiation. There was this, failed sales. There was this poison pill. And in 2019 January, there was this issue with a Canadian whose name was Robert Lloyd Schellenberg, who had this 15-year drug smuggling prison sentence escalated to a death sentence, resulting in Canada issuing a travel ban against China on the risk of arbitrary enforcement of local laws. And that was not just it. And in 2019 March, China banned Canadian canola, on the basis that pests were found in 4 separate shipments. And then there came the Meng Wanzhou case, and if you still remember, the Meng Wanzhou case actually involved, retaliation of the Chinese, and that's why there were those 2 Canadian citizens being arrested in China, if you still remember. The former Canadian diplomat, Michael Korvik, and also the business consultant, Michael Spavor. Now then, of course, there came the Hong Kong asylum seekers issues. There came Canada's basically caught in between America and then Canada was sort of like caught between US-China, the US-China trade wars, and then the Uyghurs genocide issue, and then the boycotting, and then finally the boycotting of the Beijing Olympics. And then there came this thing which, Trudeau said that they need a unified front against a divisive China. Now, this is a problem. Now, you see the history of what happens with Trudeau or between Canada and China, and then you might be asking, why is it that he is doing this? Now, from a very simple perspective, you might say, hey, Trudeau said everything, and they wanted that unified thing against China because China is now trying to play with these Western states trying to play with these Western states against each other. So that's the normal thing. Now, wait a minute. If you think of it that way, you might have missed something. Now, if you remember, when was Meng Wanzhou released? That was September 24th, 2021, still this year. But wait a minute. When was the election happened? When was the Canadian federal election happened? That was September 20th. That was 4 days before Meng Wanzhou was released. And if you remember, what Justin Trudeau was saying was that he said if he were going to be elected, now of course he's elected, okay? If he was going to be elected, well, his party would make it an offense to block access to healthcare facilities or to harass healthcare workers and patients seeking healthcare or seeking care. Yeah, and then he promised that he's going to resettle 40,000 Afghanistan refugees. Well, in the aftermath of Taliban takeover of Afghanistan. Now, he also said, but wait a minute, what were his opponents saying? So when he won over the elections, he didn't win a majority. He actually didn't get that majority that he wanted. And in fact, what he won over, or the people that he won over, or the opponents that he won over, okay, let's put it this way. The opponents that he actually won over were, number one, anti-immigrants, well, opponents supporting anti-immigration policies, opponents supporting anti-corona vaccines, opponents supporting Bill 21. Now, if you don't know what 21 is, I mean Bill 21. Bill 21 is a very controversial provincial law that prohibits public servants from wearing any religious symbols, for example, hijab, while at work. So if you look at that, he actually won, yes, but at the cost of, number one, 600 million Canadian dollars. And according to the Conservatives, Canadian Conservatives, they said, well, there is also a deeper division in the country. If he is going to make sure that he is going to control or maybe, well, maintain his popularity, he has to win over people from the other side, conservatives, of course. And look back what happened with all these incidents. China, 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 and China. So what is the best thing? What is the easiest thing to sort of link up all these people? I mean, all these people that was not on his side. What is the common thing? Well, and the common thing is simple. But wait a minute, before I tell you that common thing, which you've already noticed, well, let me just give you one thing. Think about a word, Kung Fu Panda. So what's the thing that connects Kung Fu and Panda? China, right? So there is an underlying concept, well, in this term. And you find it totally okay with Kung Fu and Panda. But you never say something like Kung Fu Kangaroo, because kangaroo goes well with boxing and not Panda. And not Kung Fu. So what happened is, if you link up all these things, the easiest thing that would convey that message to the people who are anti-immigrants, who are anti-corona vaccines, who are anti-religious symbols in workplaces, what would that be? Something against China. So that would make sense because, well, what Justin Trudeau was saying, that he wants that unified front against a divisive China, and he said China is playing with all these states. Wait a minute, why is it that China is playing with all these states? He said because of the economy. They are using the economic power to divide these countries, to divide these allies. Oh, wait a minute, if you don't want that market, why are you there? So if you look at it from that kind of a perspective, what really happened is, okay, there is a big market in China. Yes, that's the case. That's the case when, it's just like when you're sitting with a guy with a big butt. Come on, he has a big butt and he's going to sit right next to you, and that's why he's going to take up some space. That's it. It's not that he's trying to divide you guys, because he really has a big butt. Now, the thing is, when he has a big butt, it's going to be like that. It's natural. If you want a share of that big butt, which is China, then you're talking about, well, yeah, then you're talking about doing something to sort of play with the rules. Join the game, join the party. You're joining the party. So what happens here is that if these allies, okay, whoever they are, okay, if they're trying to get into the market of China, don't call them being divided. They're not divided. They're just trying to get something for their own, or for their own selves. So if that's the case, it's not a division. It's simply that you wanted that business. And if you wanted that business, well, just admit it. As simple as that. So, and don't call China being a divisive being a divisive country. China is not a divisive country. Well, come on. If you're talking about China being a divisive country, then China should be investing a lot in all these different countries, or maybe giving benefits to different countries. Is China doing that? Well, you might say, well, of course, Belt and Road Initiative. Wait a minute, that's for African countries, that's for Asian countries, that's not even for Western countries. Do you need Belt and Road Initiative? You don't. If you still remember, well, even President Joe Biden has that kind of a bill, B3W project, which is Build Back Better World project. So that's B3W. Now, if you look at that, you actually have that already. So what is the point of saying that China is trying to divide you guys? No, it isn't. Well, it isn't in the first place. So if you look at that as a divisive country, sorry, it isn't. If they were, then they should have been doing, let's say for instance, well, we're going to invest a lot in Canada and not a lot in the United States. Are you kidding me? Well, a lot of these Chinese investments are not being approved or are being blocked. So when you're blocking Chinese investments, well, how will they be able to divide you? Well, to put it the other way around, it's just the Western states that are trying to grabbing advantage from China. Well, it's totally okay. It's just business as usual. But please don't put that hat on China. It's not appropriate in a way. So what I see here is that what Prime Minister Justin Trudeau was saying was basically, well, I'm now re-elected, so I need to do something in order to sort of unify. Well, I need a unified front within Canada. And the people that are not unifying with me, not coming with me, they are either anti-immigration, they are either anti-corona vaccines, they are either they are supporters of Bill 21, which is that provincial bill that prohibits religious clothing in workplaces. And in order to unify these people, the common thing to unify this bunch of people is they're all against China. They hated China. Fine. Why? Because there's a long history since 2017. And it's all over the news. The Chinese are bad, so that's why let's use their name to our advantage. Well, that's what I see. I don't know if you see that, but if you see that, come on, it's another political hoax. So if it really is China, then simply provide the proof. There is no proof. So, until then, ciao.
Before you leave, please be sure to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and share this with your friends. See you in the next episode.